Picture a wild horse, strong, fast, full of fire, hard to ride, hard to control. Now, picture that same horse after it's been cut and tamed. Calm, easy to lead. You can pull it by the rope and it won't fight back. But there's one thing that horse can never do again. It can't create life. This isn't about horses, it's about you. If you feel empty inside, if you feel like your best years already passed you by, if you feel behind on the life you once dreamed of, that feeling wasn't random. It was built, piece by piece, on purpose, to shrink you down. It starts young. Boys get labeled trouble 3 to 4 times more than girls. Not because something's wrong with them, because the way boys naturally play, rough, loud, full of energy, doesn't fit inside a quiet classroom built for sitting still. So instead of being taught how to channel all that fire, they get handed something to calm them down before they're even 10 years old. And it doesn't stop at the school gate. Even some churches do the same thing without knowing it, teaching boys to sit still and stay quiet, instead of teaching them to stand up and be strong. Here's what most men believe. They think their pain was just bad luck, random, nothing personal. And they think the fix is out there somewhere. One more win, one more dollar, one more woman who finally sees them as enough. Look, that's why so many strong men are still hurting from something that happened years ago, still looking for healing in the one place that makes it worse. In this video, we're covering 4 lessons men learn too late, how you were tamed before you even knew who you were, why your pain was never an accident, and the one place men keep looking for healing that only makes it worse. Stay for the last one. Most men never hear it until it's too late to use. Some of you already paid for not knowing this. In money, in marriage, in years you can't get back. That cost is real, and it won't stop on its own. Most men won't make it through something this real. They'll scroll past it, say it's too much, but you're still here. That tells me something about you. You're not chasing comfort. You're chasing the truth, even when it costs you. That's power under control. That's a man ready to build. Let's get started. Lesson number 1. They gelded you before you knew what you were. Remember that horse. A gelded horse isn't dangerous anymore. It's easy, predictable, safe to be around. But that's exactly what happened to you long before you had a say in it. Somewhere along the way, your fire got labeled too much. Your drive got labeled aggressive, so you learned to turn it down. Quiet is safe. Quiet doesn't get in trouble. Quiet gets picked last for nothing and blamed for nothing. Here's the law hiding in that horse. A tamed animal survives, but it stops creating. Same with you. Every time you swallowed your voice in a meeting you should have spoken up in. Every time you said it's fine when it wasn't. Every time you played small, so nobody got uncomfortable. That was the gelding, still working on you, years later. This is how a strong man becomes a domesticated one, without ever noticing the knife. Here's the part nobody tells you. Taming doesn't happen in one big moment. It happens in 1,000 small ones. A teacher who called you too much. A boss who rewarded the quiet guy over the guy with real ideas. A room that got tense every time you said what you actually thought. One by one, you learn the lesson. Shrink and life gets easier. Stand tall and life gets harder. So most men just shrink, slowly, quietly, until one day they look up and don't recognize the man in the mirror. And it doesn't stop once you're grown. It just changes clothes. Now it's the wife who rolls her eyes when you push back. The friend group that goes quiet when you talk about faith or discipline like you mean it. The culture that calls a disciplined man extreme and a passive one chill. Same gelding, new handlers. Here's what you do with this. Stop asking for permission to be strong. Nobody's going to hand it back to you. You take it back in how you speak, how you lead your house, how you show up when it's easier to disappear. It starts small. Say what you actually mean in the next conversation, instead of the safe version. Make the call you've been avoiding. Set the boundary you've been too tired to hold. Weak men wait to be picked. Strong men just move. That's the whole game. Number 2, your wound was not an accident. Think about a boxing match. The fighter who gets hit the hardest isn't the weak one standing in the corner doing nothing. It's the one throwing real punches, the one the other guy is actually scared of. Nobody wastes their best shot on a man who's already down. Same with your wound. Maybe it was your father's silence when you needed his voice. Maybe it was the woman who chose someone else. Maybe it was the room full of people who laughed at the wrong moment and you never forgot it. You've spent years calling that bad luck. Here's the truth. It was aimed, not random, not an accident. Something in you was dangerous enough to be worth stopping, so it got hit before it could grow. Most men carry that wound like a scoreboard. Proof they lost, proof they're less than. Flip that around. A wound only lands on a man who was actually in the fight. The guys standing safely on the sidelines never get hit at all. They never risk enough to bleed. You bled because you were swinging. That's not weakness. That's evidence. That changes everything. Your wound isn't proof you're broken. It's proof you were a threat. A warrior for Christ doesn't get to skip the fight. He gets hit and keeps walking forward. So stop asking why me. Start asking what am I still capable of, wound and all. That's the only question that rebuilds a man. Here's the thing about a wound like that. Most men bury it. Never say it out loud. Not to their wife, not to their sons, not even to themselves at 2 in the morning. And that silence is its own kind of prison. So, if you've got a wound like this, the father who went quiet, the woman who walked, the room that laughed, drop it in the comments below. Not for sympathy. For the next man scrolling through, carrying the exact same weight, thinking he's the only one. He's not. None of us are. Number 3, and this one's going to sting a little. You can't buy your manhood back. Here's the thing. Men don't want to hear. You've spent years, maybe decades, trying to earn back what got taken from you, trying to prove you're still a man. And you've been doing it in 3 places: the right group, the next win, the right woman. Let's talk about why none of that ever worked. Picture a man who just lost the biggest deal of his career. Trust is gone. His name took a hit in the room. Every smart move here is the same move. Walk away, go quiet, rebuild your name slow and steady until people trust you again. But that's not what a desperate man does. He does the opposite. He runs straight back to the exact table that burned him, offering to sign anything just to feel like a winner again. Not because it's a good deal, because his ego can't stand the silence of losing. 6 months later, he's out even more, trusted even less, won, and he still doesn't understand why. Here's the law hiding in that picture. A man who feels weak will chase the fastest source of relief, even if it's the same place that hurt him, because any deal feels better than no deal at all. For most men, that fastest source is a woman. Think about it. How many wars got started over a woman? How many men have thrown away their money and a woman, their name, their family, chasing one more woman who will finally make them feel like enough? Hollywood sold you this lie for years. Get the girl, sleep with her, and you'll finally feel like a real man. That's the same lie whispering to the guy staring a little too long at the new girl at work, telling him she'll understand him better than his wife ever could, and telling him nobody has to know. That's not truth. That's fear dressed up as desire. It's why so many men tie their entire worth to one thing. Can they still perform? Can they still get her attention? Can they still close? Look, that's not high value. That's a fake alpha running on fear, dressed up as confidence. A boy chases a woman to feel whole. A man builds something whole first. Then, invites a woman into it. That's the difference. And most men never learn it until they've already burned down half their life finding out the hard way. And here's the part nobody says out loud. That affair, that one text you shouldn't have answered, doesn't heal a single thing. It just adds a second wound on top of the first one. Now you're not just hurting, you're hurting, and you did it to the people who trusted you most. Same story with achievement. Same story with the group. The right circle, the right title, the right paycheck. None of it fills the hole. It just covers it for a while. You get the promotion, and for 2 weeks, you feel like a king. Then the feeling's gone, and you're chasing the next one, then the next one after that, and somewhere along the way, you stop noticing you're running on a wheel instead of walking a road. That's not strength. That's a hurt man, still running back to the table that already burned him once. Same with the group. Some men spend years bouncing from circle to circle, chasing the feeling of finally belonging, the right friend group, the right church group, the right business network, thinking this one, finally, will be the one that makes them feel like enough. And it works for a while. Then the shine wears off, same as it always does, and they're out looking for the next room to walk into. Same with the body. Some men chase it in the gym mirror instead. Bigger arms, leaner waist, one more personal record. Thinking if the outside finally looks strong enough, the inside will stop feeling so hollow. It never does. Muscle can carry weight. It was never built to carry identity. That job was never its to do. And lately, there's a new version of the same trap. Some men chase it online. The comments, the likes, the strangers on a screen calling them high value for a workout clip or a business win. That's not respect. That's a slot machine dressed up as validation. It pays out just enough to keep you pulling the lever, and it never once asks how you're actually doing at home. Here's the pattern underneath all four. Group, win, woman, applause. They're reactive. You chase them because you feel empty and you need something right now to make the feeling stop. An intentional man doesn't operate that way. He builds first, feels the pull toward relief later, and doesn't let the pull make his decisions for him. Reactive men get used by their own hunger. Intentional men learn to sit with it until it passes. That's the whole difference between abundance and scarcity. A man running on scarcity grabs at anything that looks like proof. A man running on abundance already knows what he's worth, so nothing has to prove it for him. Here's the honest part. You already know a man like this. Maybe you've been him. The one who looks fine on the outside, good job, nice truck, decent-looking family in the photo, but is quietly falling apart on the inside because nothing he's collected ever actually landed. He upgraded the truck and felt nothing new. He got the corner office and felt nothing new. That's the tell. When the wind stops changing anything on the inside, you're not chasing success anymore. You're chasing a feeling that success was never built to deliver. Here's the part most men miss completely. And honestly, that's a deeper conversation for another video. But hold on to this. The reason chasing feels endless isn't because you haven't found the right group, the right win, or the right woman yet. Or worse, because you can't accept the woman God already placed right next to you as your wife. It's because you're looking in a direction that was never going to answer the question in the first place. The Bible says God didn't give you a spirit of fear. He gave you power, love, and a clear mind. Read that again. Not fear, power. That's not a verse for Sunday morning. That's a verse for the man still running back to the table that burned him, still trying to buy back what fear stole from him. Here's what you do with this. Stop performing for approval. Stop treating a woman, a title, a bank account, or a comment section like it's your identity. None of them were built to hold that weight, and they never will. Carry your own weight first. Then everything else in your life gets to be a gift, not a rescue mission. Start today, not by chasing something new, by sitting still, long enough to feel what you've been running from. That's the hardest step, and it's the only one that actually works. Uncomfortable? Yes. But comfort was never the goal here. Building a man who can't be shaken was. That's the difference between a boy still chasing the table that burned him and a man who finally learned to walk away and build his own. One keeps signing bad deals to feel something. The other learns to sit in the silence long enough to hear what he actually needs. But there's still one lesson left, and it's the one that actually answers where real healing comes from. And the last one, the one most men die without ever hearing. You were tamed. You got hurt. And it wasn't random. You went looking for healing in the group, the win, the woman, and none of it filled the hole. So here's the real question. If none of that is the answer, then where does a man's worth actually come from? The answer is old. Older than any self-help book. Older than any gym, any bank account, any relationship advice you've ever been given. It's sitting right at the start of the Bible, in the first page of Genesis. God made man in his own image. And the very first thing he gave that man wasn't a woman. It wasn't money. It wasn't a title. It was a job. Rule over the fish, the birds, the animals, the whole earth. Take charge of it. Run it well. That came first, before Eve ever showed up in the story. Here's why that order matters so much. Rule doesn't mean power over other people. It means power over yourself first, your habits, your house, your work, your own two hands, and what you build with them. That's your territory. That's the land you were handed the day you were born, and your job is to run it well. Every man alive was given a gift, something you're good at, something that's yours to build, yours to protect, yours to grow. That's your real territory, not your bank account, not your body, not your reputation. Your worth was never meant to come from how people see you. It was meant to come from how well you run what God already gave you. Here's what that looks like in real life. It's the man who's up before the house wakes, working on the thing only he can build. It's the man who shows up on time, does the hard job right, and doesn't need applause for it. It's the man whose word is worth something because he's kept it 1,000 times when nobody was watching. None of that gets a headline. All of it builds a man nobody can shake. It's also the man who leads his own house like it matters, because it does, who sits down with his kids instead of just paying their bills, who prays quietly instead of performing it loudly. Small, steady, unseen work. That's dominion. Not a title, not a stage, just a man doing right by what's his day after day, whether anyone's watching or not. And Eve, she doesn't show up first in that story. She shows up after. Not as the mission, as help for the mission that was already his to carry. That one detail changes everything. And almost every man alive has it backwards. He puts the woman first, chasing her to feel like a man. God put the work first, so a man could become one, and then invited a woman to stand beside him once he already knew who he was. That's the whole order most men never got taught. God first, your work, your discipline, your own two hands, second. Then, and only then, does everything else fall into place the way it was supposed to. Get that order backwards, and you spend your whole life restless, chasing a woman to fix what only work and worship can build, chasing money to fix what only obedience can build. That restlessness you've felt for years, that's not you being broken. That's just proof you had the order flipped. Fix the order, and something in a man finally goes quiet. He stops performing, stops proving, stops running back to the table that already burned him, looking for a rescue that was never coming from there. He just builds, quietly, faithfully, like a man of God running the land he was actually given. Strong fathers build strong families. But it starts with a man who knows his job before he ever asks a woman to stand beside him in it. You were tamed, and you didn't even feel the knife. You got hurt, and it wasn't bad luck. It was aimed because you were dangerous enough to matter. You went looking for healing in the group, the win, the woman, and it left you emptier every time. And now you know where real strength was always meant to come from. The man who understands all four of these things stops chasing. He stops asking the world to hand back what it took from him. He just starts building, quietly, on his own land, under his own roof, in front of his own God. That's the whole shift. Not louder, not angrier, not one more thing to prove to anyone. Just a man who finally stopped waiting for permission and started running what was already his to run. That's what an untamed man actually looks like. Not wild for the sake of being wild. Strong, on purpose, with his fire pointed somewhere that matters. Somewhere out there, right now, there's a version of you standing at sunrise on land that's actually yours. Steady, quiet, unshaken, because he finally got the order right. And that man isn't a fantasy. He's a decision away. Maybe today's the day you stop waiting for the world to hand your strength back and just start acting like the man who never lost it in the first place. No group has to approve it. No win has to prove it. No woman has to complete it. It was always yours to pick back up. All it ever needed was a man willing to stop asking and start carrying it again, one quiet morning at a time. That's the man this channel exists to build. Not louder, not softer, just finally standing on his own 2 feet, running what's his. By the way, if this hit something in you, hit like and subscribe. There's more where this came from. Until next time.